The photo studio was a rectangle of patience, white sweep, sandbags like sleeping dogs, soft boxes humming at quarter power. I was there because the data team owed favors to the creative team, and their retoucher was sick. Just help us color check the product shots, my manager said. It's math with prettier lighting. Half the samples were accessories, half were hosiery, tights and neat sleeves marked with poetic names, smoked-quartz, moonstone, ink. A silk blouse hung on a rolling rack, bias cut and slightly smug about it. Nora, the producer, ran the set like a calm air traffic controller. 32, quick eyes, hair in a low twist that had stopped pretending to be severe. She greeted people with first names and a to-do in the same breath. Malik, V-stand left. Izzy, warm card. Hey, you must be Evan from Data. Thank you for saving us. We shot belts first, a watch next, then color chips for white balance. When the hosiery came out, the model tapped an ankle and said she'd sprained it last night. Nora's jaw clicked once. Annoyance translated to logistics. Then she turned to me. We still need a leg for denier tests, she said. Camera sees different than eyes. Could you help? I looked down at my trousers. I looked at the light. I knew exactly what 20 denier looked like on skin, how it made a calf red like a confident sentence. I also knew the knot in my chest that appeared when I wanted something in daylight. I can help, I said, before fear wrote a longer email. Nora handed me a new, unopened package, smoked quartz, 20D, plus a robe, plus a sentence that made the room kinder. Door's yours. Say no anytime. In the changing nook, I breathed like a swimmer. Thumbs inside, slow roll. Nylon climbed my calves with that cool then warm hush that turns static into signal. I didn't bother with the robe. I stepped out in the tights, kept my shirt on, and walked back to set. Malik raised a single approving eyebrow. Nora smiled like a quiet thank you. We did practical shots, 1 foot flat, 1 flexed, side light, back light. Nora watched the monitor the way surgeons watch screens, not for drama, for truth. Hold, she said, then came close with a reflector, angling light along my shin until the gloss turned into a thin river. Her hand hovered before it adjusted my posture. May I? She asked. I nodded. Her palm, firm at my knee, rotated me 5 degrees. The monitor agreed. How does it feel? She asked, a real question. Like my legs exhaled, I said, surprising us both. We got the color data and backup. Izzy clapped once. Nora handed me the packaging like a medal. Thank you, she said. You saved the day. When the others went to lunch, I stayed to back up files and relabel shots. Nora stayed too, because the producer stays. She checked the schedule, then the rack, then me adjusting my trouser hem over nylon, a gesture that has lived in my hands for years. She didn't pretend not to see. I like the way they read on camera, she said, neutral but warm. And in the room. I could have lied by changing the subject. Instead, I tried the truth at a modest volume. I wear them for calm. I said, at home, sometimes under jeans. It makes everything quieter. Nora considered this like a note on a storyboard. That makes sense. She tapped the silk blouse on the rack. We use fabric to move emotion around all day. We just forget it when it's our own. After lunch, the model returned, ankle-taped. We finished the catalog items. At wrap, Nora thanked the room like a good host and killed the big light. People filtered out with jokes about dinner and deadlines. She wheeled the rack to the side. You were a better test leg than most models, she said. Half a tease, half not. If you want, I can send you the raws for your collection? My collection appreciates it, I said. And then, because the air was good, I don't have anyone to show this to. That's new for me. She folded a V-flat like a page. I'm not making it a project, she said. But if you want a non-judgmental person who likes textiles to be present while you figure out what feels right, I'm capable. Platonically, I said, to be formal about safety. Always, she said, with that producing clarity. The next week, after hours, I returned with tea and a bag I'd never carried across town in daylight. The studio felt like a church that liked fun. Nora had left the soft boxes at the lowest dim setting, a room-shaped exhale. She set ground rules as if we were about to lift something heavy. You narrate what's okay. I ask before I touch anything. We can stop or rewind on a single word. You are not a before-after. You are a person trying on options. Agreed? Agreed, I said. The knot in my chest loosened a notch. I changed into the smoked quartz tights again, then a silk slip for my bag. Champagne, bias cut, the good kind that argues gently with gravity. I stepped out and stood under the safe half-light. The white sweep reflected a patient glow. Nora looked, not with hunger, not with pity, with the practical attention she gives light. "You stand differently," she said. "As if someone unstacked boxes in your ribs." She asked to adjust a strap. I said yes. Her fingertips were exact. She stepped back, checking me with the same eye she gives product shots. What's true? What's noise? "Do you want a picture for yourself?" she asked. "Yes," I said, and we took two. One where I looked like I just sat down in my own chair. One where we crossed our eyes so the others didn't have to carry all the meaning. She airdropped them with the file name accurate_01.jpg. Texting became a respectful shorthand. If I sent noise, she replied Studio T7. If she texted fabric, I replied with 20D or 40. We learned each other's calendars and edges. She never joked at the expense of the soft thing. I never asked her to do emotional labor without consent. When we inevitably veered toward attraction, we said it calmly. "I would like to kiss you at some point." She texted after the third session. "Not tonight if that muddies consent around styling." "Same," I wrote back. "Hold until we're not borrowing the studio's good light." We practiced being in public at a quiet cafe. I wore matte tights under trousers because matte keeps secrets. She wore a silk scarf with a print that made color look deliberate. We ordered cake like a pact. A stranger complimented her earrings and didn't care about me at all. It was bliss. Back at the studio, we tried a back seam pair. Disciplined line, 15D, midnight. She traced the seam above the knee, hovering, not touching, like a map reader. "This looks like a sentence that knows where it ends," she said. The camera agreed. The mirror did too. I felt taller, not in inches, in alignment. Not everything was frictionless. A coworker made a joke about costumes that wasn't aimed at me but ricocheted anyway. I almost canceled our session. Nora texted, "But we can also do tea and sweats." Your call. I rolled on the tights like buckling calm. We sat on sandbags and did nothing impressive for 20 minutes. When my breath found its own pace again, she said, "Thank you for letting me be here." It felt like the right kind of applause. We wrote rules and kept them. No surprises at work. No performing for anyone who asked without care. If one of us used the word stop, the other said okay and fetched water. On Wednesdays, we went dark. No texts, no photos, to prove we could. On Thursdays, we broke the rule and sent a picture of fabric layered on fabric. Matte cardigan against silk, nylon under denim, the little hierarchies that make a day behave. The night we finally kissed, we didn't use the studio. We used my living room, because couches hold decisions gently. I wore smoked quartz under soft shorts. She wore a bias-cut skirt that said it had read many novels. We said hello twice. We checked for second thoughts and found none. The kiss felt like the first good print out of the machine after 20 tests. Quiet, exact, not a victory lap, the point. When I told her about the drawer at home that kept me human, rolled tights, slips on velvet hangers, she didn't reach for a speech. She reached for a label maker. "Chaos is not your brand," she said. We made tidy rows and laughed about how pleasure needs shelves. The studio grew into our third place. We shot test swatches for her work and nobody else. We tested what Matt did at f2.8. We learned that 30D excellent diplomacy for fluorescent hallways. Nora brought a small sewing kit. I brought the good hand cream for after nylon. We tried color once, a Merlot slip that looked arrogant on the hanger and correct under light. We printed 3 photos on matte paper and put them in a linen folder. We didn't post them. They were not content. They were proof. When slower friction showed up, my brother assuming the worst, her friend assuming I'd pivot identities the way people pivot brands, we didn't turn it into a crisis. We did the only thing that had worked. Small truth, repeated. "I'm a man who likes the way tights feel and look on me," I said. "I'm not building a new name. I'm using the one I have with more accuracy." Nora added, "And I like him exactly that way." Some people understood. Some needed time. Some didn't get a vote. We built ordinary into it. Groceries in matte. Date night in glossy. Studio nights where nothing fit and we ordered noodles, laughing at a ladder we patched with clear polish. Mornings where I went to work with silk under a shirt and my boss praised my presentation, as if confidence can't be worn like an underlayer. On the day Nora's shoot ran long and every light stand decided to stick, I showed up with takeout and stayed behind the tape. She finished the last shot, shoulders tense. Clothes or no clothes? I asked, the shorthand we'd invented for armor versus undoing. Clothes, she said. I held the bag while she rolled on 20D behind the V-flats like field medicine. Her laugh came back when she stood. Better, she said, and closed her eyes against my shoulder for 10 seconds that reset the week. By the time we stopped needing the studio to be brave, we still used it because it was ours. We took one last photo under the big soft box, me in silk and back seams, her in trousers and a silk tank, both of us looking like the version we'd been describing to ourselves for months. She adjusted my strap a millimeter, out of habit, and asked, "Ready?" "Ready," I said, and meant the day after and the day after that. We turned off the light. The rectangle of patience went quiet. We walked into night like people who had learned their settings.